Hello and welcome back to Marker Review. Today, our markers are courtesy of Mrs. Kanzinger. She gave these a special review. She really wanted us to review them. So, Camo, any talking points?
I'd like to start off by saying great markers, obviously. When you're writing with them, though, you need to make sure you're keeping your hand like perfectly level to the board, because if you go a little to the side, the edge here, there's kind of like a deep little lip right over the point. So you need to make sure you're keeping it perfectly straight to get those nice fine print lines. And also, some people are discouraged with markers. They don't have the click of the pen. However, this, as I'm sure Clark is going to talk about later, has a nice little satisfying click. So that's good for all you pen viewers out there. You're not missing out with this marker.
Yeah. So one thing that I noticed that no one's touched on yet is that it says low odor dry erase. So I think that we may have to do a sniff test. Right?
Sniff test?
Instead of a waft test.
A
We don't
waft,
actually
waft,
sniff
waft.
them. We
We're safe
waft
around
them.
there.
You off the
We're safe.
We're safe.
So, as Camo brought up earlier, I'm a big fan of the click of pens and markers.
You know
And
what?
typically you don't get those on
I still
markers. It's
smile.
more of a cap where you have to push on and then push really hard and you get like a little bit of a click. But with these, you have like a little sliding feature where you slide it down and it stays out. But then you press this and it comes back in. And with that, you might be thinking, oh, how don't they get super dried out in here? Well, inside here, there's actually like a little curtain, we could call it, where the marker actually pushes it out and then it pops out into where you can start writing, which I do think that's a really key part, but that does really jack up the price, which we will get into later.
We will.
Not too keen for me.
Yeah.
So we should get into the writing test.
Agreed.
One word, you know the rules.
Clark, you go first.
Pricey. This marker is pricey. It comes at $22 for 12. That is a lot for me. I am not, like
Well,
I
it
stated.
depends on it. You know, if you're what you're using them for. If you're like, I don't even think I'm in the frame.
I'm sorry.
It depends on what you're using. Like if you're a school teacher and you know you're using this marker every day and you're going to use these markers for a long time, it's a good long-term investment.
That is
Am I
true.
not
Ms.
right?
Kanzinger said she has not had one dying or anytime soon. And she's been
Exactly.
using these the entire year.
That's the
How many months is that? Like 3 or 4 months? That is a long time.
Especially
so you'll
when
have these
you're,
for a while.
especially when you're a teacher that has kids come up to the board and do work using the expo markers. A lot of kids' tendency is to kind of just place the cat back
Exactly,
on
that's
without
what I was
clicking it
gonna
in.
get to.
You avoid that entire problem with this because all you have to do, like Clark said, is push the button, feel the satisfying click, and the marker does the work for you.
And that's
It
the-
saves itself.
That's the other thing is that like the click, because it's so satisfying, like you're not gonna just leave it on click. You know,
Exactly.
you're gonna be. These
Yeah.
pens are gonna last a long time.
Exactly. As a student, I know I'm going to be, when I'm done writing, I'm just going to be standing there at the board waiting for the teacher like this over and over. Camo, form.
Alrighty,
Why
so
form?
my word was form because, like I mentioned earlier, form is key with this marker. If you try to write with it kind of parallel to the board, you're not going to get anything
Sure.
because the lip is preventing it. You got to make sure your marker is perpendicular to the surface you're writing on to get that nice print. Drew?
Right. Let me see. I'll do. Right. See, look. Here's one thing that I noticed about this. When I'm writing, it just like it feels unlike it's for some reason it's different than a normal expo marker. I think the way that it might be like it might just be me. It might just be my own personal kind of like feel for it. But the way that it writes, it seems like it glides a lot better, and it like the lines are a lot fuller than a normal expo marker. I don't know. Maybe that's because they're new, or maybe that's because it's just me. But that's just one thing I noticed. It just glides along the board.
That is very true. But bringing back to the price tag.
Right.
I cannot afford that. I do not have very deep pockets at the moment. They are quite empty.
Right.
So that is a big problem for me. But, I mean, if you have the cash to spend, these are definitely worth your time. Drew, rating.
I would say.
What
Well,
would you
here's the
say?
thing. I think if I'm in my house and I'm drawing on like my white or like my dry erase board, right? If I'm in my house, like I don't need this marker to just have fun drawing on my dry erase board,
Mhm.
right?
Of course.
Here's the thing. If I'm teaching a class, or if I'm a professor, or if I'm giving a presentation, then of course, I would want nothing but the best, and I do truly think that this is one of the best markers for that. So I'd say, in terms of just the price breaks it down a lot, so I'd say for your normal average consumer, I'd give it a 5.4735.
Okay.
But if you're if you have a little bit more money and you're, in the corporate world, or if you're teaching, or, and you need something that's good for presentations and you're doing a lot of whiteboard writing, then I'd say jack that up to like, honestly, if price isn't a big factor, this marker is probably around an 8.
Ooh, that is a very high rating. All right,
If
Ken,
price is not a
what are you
factor.
thinking?
So typically, I'm a man of habit. I like the typical Expo marker. I like the feel of it. I think it's very nice. However, in a case like this, with the little change up of the click down as opposed to just taking the cap off, it's a little strange at first if you're used to, like I said, the normal Expo marker.
Right.
However, I think you'll grow to like it. It's a very satisfying click. It still gives you the feel like you're using a pen. However, I still am not a huge fan of the fact that you have to have perfect form to be writing in it. But I'm still going to give this on the higher end because I like it. I'm going to give it a solid 6.834.
All right, that's a solid rating. And I've been the most harsh critic on this show so far.
Yeah, you have.
And I will
I've
go
been
with the
the
Drew
happy
where Drew has gone with the consumer versus teacher route. For the consumer, definitely not my favorite. Around a low 3.
Really?
Don't even want to go into decimals. Don't even want to think about it. Who has the cash to spend? I love writing my own whiteboard in my house, writing those in-class essays, practicing at my house
Exactly,
on the
yeah.
whiteboard.
Like
at
when
my
I'm
house.
diagramming my in-class essay at my house, like the night before, I have my entire whiteboard out. Like I don't need this for that though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't need that for this. But as a teacher, I would rate these extremely high, around the 8.5 range.
Exactly.
These are extremely nice because those teachers got the bang to the buck to spend all the cash. I'm just saying, very good for your teacher, around 8.53. I'll rate it there.
Sounds
All right,
good.
well,
Nice.
thank you for joining us on Mark
Thank
Review
you for
today.
joining us on Marker
See you
Review.
next time.
See you next week.